Hey lovely soulmates, I'm happy to have you back to my channel once again. So in today's tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make this Bubu dress with side slits and Asoke design on the neck, okay? So this is the beautiful outcome of what we're going to learn. So if this is what you love to learn, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. So this is my fabric and this is a Kampala fabric and this is the Asoke that we're going to use for this project, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead to start working on it, okay? So please stay to the end of this tutorial and I welcome you all my returning subscriber. I really appreciate what you do. So I'll go ahead by folding the ashoke according to my desired length. Okay, so note that we are going to be folding this ashoke into four, okay? So because we'll be cutting the back and the front together, okay? So I was not folding it into four and I have my desired length here, okay? So I'm working with length of 59 inches and that is what I've measured out and cut, and as it's folded into four just as I earlier mentioned, and I also added 1 inch hemming allowance to it, okay? So that is what you do for your own as well, okay? So without wasting much time, I am going to start measuring my bodies, okay? So to start, I am going to pick up my tape and I'm just going to measure from the shoulder line to my waistline, which is 17 inches, okay? So I'll also measure from my waistline to my hip line, which is 9.5 inches. And I'm also going to measure to my knee line and mark as well. So after measuring, I am going to go ahead and label the lines, and it will be time for us to start imputing our body measurement right away. So I'll measure here as shoulder, which will be my starting line. Here is my waistline and here is my hip line. Then I'll also measure this other one, my knee line. Then the length of the fabric will be my dress length, okay? So having done that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to start imputing my shoulder to shoulder measurement, okay? So this is a cut together dress, so meaning that the shoulder and the sleeve are going to be cut together, okay? So I measured my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches, and from there I'm going to mark. So my overall sleeve length is around 13 inches, so I'm going to mark around 11 inches, okay? So I made it 11 inches so that when I join the plain fabric on the sleeve, I'll have my complete 13 inches. So I came down by 1 inch here on the shoulder slope and I marked. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to get my neck width of 3 inches, okay? I'm going to working with 3.5 inches, okay? So I proceeded to mark it as well, and the next thing I'm going to do is to get my ruler and I'm going to connect all the way to my shoulder slope, okay? Okay, so I was on doing that, and from this shoulder slope line, okay, from this line here, now I'm going to measure my round sleeve, okay? That is my sleeve opening. So I'll be measuring around 11 inches there, and I'll mark, and from there I'm also adding extra 2 inches for ease allowance. Remember, this is not a fitted dress, okay? So I'm going to mark on that line as shown, and that line now becomes the bust line, okay? That is the line we're going to be using for the bust line, okay? So now I'm going to be marking my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'm just going to mark the line, and I'll be adding extra inches for ease allowance since this is not a very fitted dress, okay? So I mark my bust circumference divided by 4 here, as you can see, and I am adding extra 3 inches allowance to it, okay? So I'll connect this way, and the next thing I'm going to do is to measure my waist circumference divided by 4 as well, okay? So can you see what we have? Okay, so but before I do that, I'm going to measure what I have from the folded part to the shoulder slope line, and I'm just going to mark it all the way down to where I impute my sleeve opening, that is my round sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to mark it and mark it down as well. That is what I've done, okay, and connect it to this line here. Okay, so do you see what we have? So I will go over to the waist circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to impute it there and also add my allowance to it. Okay, so I'll be using 2.5 inches allowance for my waist circumference divided by 4. Okay, so now it's time to measure my hip circumference divided by 4. Okay, so I'll mark it on the hip line. Okay, and after marking it on the hip line, I'll be adding extra 4.5 inches. Okay, so let me just leave it at 4 inches. Okay, so I marked 4 inches extra allowance there, as you can see. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to impute that same measurement I have there on my knee line and also for my length. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do, and after that I will be connecting the lines into a straight line. Okay, so I'm just going to make a little curve around there to blend the sleeve and the bodies. Okay, so that is just what I've just done. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to get our neckline. Remember, we're cutting the front and the back together here, so the neck depth for the back is 2 inches and neck depth for the front is about 7 inches. Okay, so that is what I'm going to mark. Okay, so I'm using 7.5 anyway, so I'll mark it on that point here, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to connect. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up my ruler and I will connect this way. Okay, for my back line. Okay, so I was not connecting, as you can see. I'm going to cut out, so I'm cutting the back neckline, please, not yet the front, until we separate them. So I'll cut through my back neckline, then the shoulder, and after cutting, I'm going to separate the back from the front, and it will be time for us to cut out the front neckline. Okay, so I was not cutting, I have already separated the back. Okay, and it will be time for me to cut out the front neckline. Okay, the v-neck for the front. So that is what I'm going to do now. Okay, so after cutting it, it will be time for us to start working on our Asoke. So if you notice, I left about 0.25 allowance here for joining. Okay, that is because I don't want the v-neck line to be more than what it is here after I was done joining. Okay, so this is what we have, as you can see. Okay, so I cut out lining piece for this dress because my client wanted to have lining, so I cut the front and the back lining piece together. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure from my shoulder to where I want my Asoke fabric to stop. Okay, so I want it to stop at least around 2 inches below my half length line. Okay, so I marked from my shoulder to my half length, then I also measured from there 2 inches extra, and that is where I want my Asoke fabric to stop. Okay, so can you see? So I'm going to set it aside, and here is the Asoke that I am working with. All right, okay, so I am going to choose the right side I'll be using for this Asoke, and I'm going to fold it into two like this. Okay, so after folding it, I'm going to measure what I have. Okay, I'm going to make sure that what I have is up to the length I have from my shoulder to my 2 inches below my waistline on my main fabric, and I'm going to add some extra allowance to it. Okay, so I have what I have exactly what I need, and I'm going to bring in my main fabric. I'm going to be placing it like this. Okay, so I'm going to place it now like this, but before then I'll make sure that I pin down the Asoke and make sure that it aligns, all the lines aligned. Can you see? So I want to make sure that I arrange it properly. Please do this. ensure that it is properly arranged, and if possible secure properly with your pin so that all the lines, the blue lines, the white lines, the red line, and all the lines, they are properly aligned. Okay, so after doing that, I'm going to bring back my main fabric and I'm going to place it on it, and I'm going to be showing us the next thing we are going to be doing. Okay, so I'm going to place this fabric here. Okay, I'm going to ensure that it is properly aligned to the front here, and on the shoulder as well. I want to make sure that I have enough allowance to get the shoulder slope. Okay, so I'm just going to arrange it. Okay, so please take your time to arrange this very well so that you get the best result. Okay, I'm going to arrange it very well, and I'm going to grab my pins and I'm just going to pin it down. Okay, I'm going to secure it very well on the Asoke and make sure that it doesn't move. Okay, okay, so after pinning it down, the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark out on the line that we're going to be working with. Okay, so from this line here, I am going to measure and mark 0.5 inches. Okay, I'm going to measure and mark 0.5 inches from this line here. Okay, okay, so I was not marking and I ensure that it reached to the end here, and I'm just going to pick my scissors and I'll cut out. Okay, so I'm going to cut out from this shoulder line. Okay, I'm just going to cut out this way, and the next I'm going to cut out on the 0.5 inches that I mark. Okay, so after which I'll open it up for us to see what we have. Okay, so I was done marking and removed my pin, and this is what we have. Can you see how it's looking already? So I'm going to go over to my machine to join with the 0.5 inches that I added. So I'm going to do this ensuring that I align all the lines according to its colors. Okay, and I'll bring it back for us to see. So I was done joining, as you can see, on that 0.5 inches that I marked, and here it is. Can you see that it's properly aligned, as in everything is looking very fine? I'm going to trim off the excess I have here, and I'm also going to open iron on the joining. Okay, I'm going to open iron here, okay, so that it lies very flat. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to show you how I'm going to join it. So remember, I'm going to be adding lining to the fabric. That is, I'm going to be turning it with the lining piece. So because I'm turning it with lining piece, I'm going to place it this way and turn with lining piece, okay? But if you're not turning with lining piece, this is what you're going to do. You're going to place it front of the Asoke facing the wrong side of the main fabric, and you are going to sew, okay? You're going to sew the neckline. After sewing neckline, you turn it like this, okay? So that is what I went on to do. I went on to turn mine with lining piece, okay? And this is how beautiful it's looking. Can you see? I also stitched this side down, okay? Can you see on my main fabric, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to close my join the shoulder of my front with the shoulder of my back, okay? So I'm going to bring the back part and place his shoulder on top of the other shoulder, and I'm going to sew it down, okay? So I'm going to pick this like this, okay, and merge the lines together and pick one of the lining and it kind of sandwich it on it this way, okay? I'm going to bring everything together here and use this one to turn it, okay? So I was done joining the shoulders and this is what we have. Can you see? I did the same thing on this other side as well. All right, so the next thing I'm also going to do is to get my fabric, the plain fabric I'm going to be adding to the sleeve. So I'm going to measure what I have on the overall round sleeve, and after I was measuring, I went on to cut this, okay? So this is a plain fabric that I cut out, and I went on to fold in 0.5 inches on one side. So the overall length is 5 inches wide, okay? The width, I mean, is 5 inches wide, and I went on to fold 0.5 inches on one side, and the length is also as long as my sleeve. So I'm going to place it like this: the right side of my plain fabric on the wrong side of my main dress, and I'm going to sew it and also top stitch. So that is what I went on to do. Can you see it? And it's looking all pretty. So I did that on the second side as well, and it will be time for me to join, okay? So I went on to mark my lines where I'm going to be joining. My bust circumference divided by 2 this time and marked. And the next thing I'm going to do is to measure from my shoulder to 1 inch below my waistline. That is, if your waistline is 16, you go by 17 and mark there. Then from there you measure extra 7 inches for your pocket. That is what I just did. Can you see it? Okay, so I also went on to cut my pocket, and this is what we have. So if you don't know how to cut pockets and sew, please watch my video on asymmetric line short bubu dress, okay? So I went on to mark on this side as well, okay? I proceeded to mark on this side, and I'll go back to my machine and join, and I'm going to bring it back for you to see. So when I join, I'll stop here because of my pocket, and I proceed to also join from the other side, okay? So I was done doing that, and I also fixed my pocket. So like I said, this asymmetric short bubu dress has full tutorial on how to cut and sew a pocket, so you can watch it as well, or my other bubu dresses, okay? So I did that on the other side and on this side as well, and this is what we have. Can you see it? Okay, so the next thing I did was to hem this down, the side opening, and it's time to hem the length, that is the hem line of the dress. So I went on to hem it, and this is what we have, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so. Like this video, also drop a comment for me, and I really appreciate you all. So this is the beautiful outcome of our bubu dress. Thank you so much. See you some other time. Bye.